One. Let's go. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Ballers Across the Pond. Hope you guys had a good holiday. Merry Christmas and obviously Happy New Year as well. Somewhat delayed, but it's been eventful on our end. We've taken like a bit of a break. Our guy Dilly's back from India. He's been there for quite a while. He's a little bit poorly, but he's on the mend. Myself, I'm doing good. Well, take into account the situation with my team, maybe not great, but we're still working through. Pete, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy New Year to everybody. Um, and I hope you all had a nice Christmas break with your family and friends. Enjoyed the festivities over the Christmas period. It's one of the busiest period, one of the happiest period. I love Christmas, so it was a good break for me. We're back again to talk about NFL football. Um, this is the final week of the regular season. Still more storylines to talk about, so yeah, let's get it.
Yeah, no, it's good. Like I said, these last few games, especially like this week, some people would say they're not important. There's a few rivalry games that do matter, but sometimes teams can use these games to sort of try and set the tone heading into the postseason. The last thing you really want as a team is to have a really piss poor performance because it's going to put doubt. You want a strong performance heading in. But that being said, we do have a playoff picture. We do have a group of teams that have secured a spot, a group of teams that are on the outside trying to get in, and a group of teams that are going to need a lot of other things to happen for them to even stand a chance. And obviously, a lot of teams want to be in that situation where they don't have to worry about that. You got to control your own destiny, just focus on winning your game, and then the rest will take care of itself. So yeah, no, it's an exciting time around the league. What we're going to do today is we're just going to go through the playoff picture and we're going to talk about some of the matchups heading forward, but also the matchups that happened this week just gone as well, and how that's like sort of shown a few nooks and crannies for some of the teams. So yeah, no, it's an exciting time, and I think we'll be going over some of the news with respect to each team. So yeah, what side did you want to look at, Pete? Are we going AFC or NFC first? I think you want to get the Ravens in there right off the bat.
Let's start with the AFC.
Yeah.
Let's start with the AFC because the AFC sounds interesting. So already four teams on that side of the brackets have clinched their playoff spots, which is the Ravens, the Dolphins, Chiefs, and the Browns. They've all clinched like their playoff spots. Ravens clinched number one seed. I think no one's taking that from them, so they're gonna play at home throughout the playoffs. Good credit to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, who's I think he's obviously clinched the MVP at this point. I don't think there's any challenges that's really gonna, unless they cheat him and give it to C Mac. So we'll see how that plays out later. But as we look at the AFC playoff picture, those four teams have clinched sort of like their playoff spots. What makes it interesting is that there's still three spaces left. So the Browns are gonna be the fifth seed regardless because the Ravens are number one seed. Um, and the Dolphins has number two right now, and the Chiefs has number three. So that seeding could change depending on who wins and who loses.
Mm-hmm.
But in the hunt for the AFC, you got the Jaguars, Bills, Colts, Texans, and the Steelers. So those five teams are sort of like in a hunt for the playoffs. So we're gonna quickly sort of like talk about those teams and break them down, and see how their prospects are heading into the postseason. Um, so first up is the Jaguars, the London Jags. They are first in the AFC South. Um, but it's interesting. So this is we're gonna lump it in with the teams in the division. Obviously, Dilly's team, the Colts, they are second in the AFC South, and the Texans are third in the AFC South. They are all on nine. All of them are on 9-7 records, right? So that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
So this weekend, the Jags are playing Tennessee, who's obviously eliminated from the playoffs. They're 5-11,
Yep.
and then the Texans and the Colts are playing. So, um, but the complication here is in a Texans and the Colts matchup is a win and you're in.
Yeah.
So basically, whichever team wins that game, either the Texans or the Colts, they're in the playoffs. If the Jaguars beat the Tennessee, they win the division. So at least two of the so that's what makes it
Yeah. That's definitely going to be
A bit.
interesting to see. And I think sort of going in, you know, the Jags are favorites to beat Tennessee. You know, I don't think they really have a QB in place right now. Tannehill's out there, but he's not good. I think this is it for him. It might be a career for him. I'm just being honest. Like we saw how he played. Like we're seeing how he performed.
Yep.
It's just not where it needs to be. You know, Will Levis is not playing that great, but he's actually playing better than Tannehill, and I think they kind of need to sit back and invest in the QB that they picked. It's going to be really interesting to see how things pan out heading forward as well. The Colts and Texans, if CJ Stroud can make it, like in his first
last
season.
weekend,
Yep.
Trevor didn't play last weekend, but I think it appears that he's back. He probably will be back for this game, though. I don't think.
Yeah, I think he wants
He's
to be
gonna
back for
miss
sure. Yeah, I think
this
he wants.
game
Yeah,
with playoff implications on the line.
I think he wants to be back for sure because as a rookie, this has been an amazing season for him to be able, if he's able to clinch a playoff berth for his team in his first year, then that shows real good signs. And I think we've been hearing it around the league. If a lot of people could start a franchise today with a young quarterback, a lot of pundits have said we want CJ Stroud as our guy. You know, he's shown like a lot of moxie, he's shown a lot of progress, and I think that's only a good thing heading forward. So yeah, no, it's it's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that CJ was back last week and helped the Texans to the win, obviously. But I gotta say, I've been very impressed with the Colts, especially their head coach Shane Steichen.
Yeah.
Coaching the team and to me, if I was to give my vote for coach of the year, it would go to Shane Steichen, first year head coach with the Colts. They're now 9-7. They have got a winning record in his first year. His rookie quarterback got injured after the first 5 games of the season, and to be able to coach the next QB up and be able to build an offense and a team to be able to have those amount of wins and to be hunting for the playoff in your first year as a head coach, I gotta give him a lot of props. And I think for his first year, I know other coaches have done an amazing job, but I think Shane Steichen should be coach of the year for the outstanding job he's done with the Colts and them chasing the playoff berth for the Texans.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're a Colts fan now, you know the future's bright. You have a playmaker, a QB in place that you can grow with, and you have a head coach there that's making all the right calls. Like I said, you can always tell the good coaches because they make a lot of noise and they play really well with less talent. They don't have all the pieces in place, but they find a way to win games and they find a way to progress. That's the hallmarks of a good coach. So it's only uphill, really, because once you get your personnel in there, remember, this is his first go around with regards to like a full-on draft. So he's going to get his players. That's when you're really going to start to see that jump. So it's going to be like an exciting off season for them for sure. Out of those teams, like I said, it's going to be an interesting situation. What's your thought on the Bills?
I think Buffalo getting ultimately. They're in the hunt. They're 10-6. Currently, they're projected to have the 6th seed in the playoffs should they win their game against Miami. But it becomes a question of, here's the thing: they're 10-6, right? Steelers are 9-7. The Steelers are playing Baltimore, so that's also another chance for the Steelers to get into the playoffs if they beat Baltimore. And I think Baltimore are gonna rest their starters. I think that's the news that has been announced that Lamar probably won't play in that game, which gives the Steelers a great chance to win that game.
Yep. Oh, we've had a DC. Hold on.
The Texans and the Colts result.
Yep, you're back. All is good. But yeah, no, I can see you.
That depends on other results. I think the Bills do it. They're playing Miami. I just hold on. Let me see NFL Week 18 schedule. I just want to see if they're playing at Miami or at Buffalo, because that could play. But I think the funny thing about the Bills season, right, is that they're 10-6, right, and Josh Allen apparently has better stats than Lamar in terms of like passing the ball, but Lamar's impact has been great that's why he's the MVP favorite, because when your team is 13-3, you have a chance to win that. I think what's his name, Josh Allen has 42 total touchdowns, 27 touchdowns, 69 INTs. The INTs is a bit high.
Yeah, he's been taking a lot of risks though, so he's been airing out that ball. So
I agree.
If you take those big shots down the field, some of them are gonna connect, and if you can get like an 80-yard, 70-yard, 60-yard bomb, that's gonna count. That could be a whole half of football for another quarterback in terms of passing the ball right there and then. So that stuff matters. So I think that's more like
Yeah, so
testimonies like his personal style of play.
I agree. So they're playing in Miami, right? So Miami's already clinched a playoff spot. So Miami will still play their stars. I don't think I've heard anything about them resting players. But I give Buffalo a chance to go and beat Miami to get into the playoffs, because I think when you're 10-6 and you just have to win and you're in, I think um I think Buffalo is gonna do that. And then both the Dolphins and Buffalo will get um in terms of that the playoff spots for the AFC. The Steelers are an interesting team. Mike Tomlin celebrated his 17th year
No.
without a
Oh
losing
my
record. And shout out to Mike
goodness.
T, man.
Yeah, shout out to Mike T. I respect that, but this whole we've never had, like, you're finishing bottom outside the bubble, and you're celebrating this. Like, this is the Steeler coach has to change. Congratulations, Mike T. You find a way to make it work every season. There's a lot of teams that are eliminated, and you're always on the other end of that, but that's not good enough, man. At the end of the day, you can't keep celebrating this. You need to be in the playoffs competing. You've got that history, that legacy. You're a QB away. You're QB away.
Here's my little caveat here, right? Which is, if you look at the Steelers, right, under Mike Tomlin, right, in the early part, they were, winning the division, competing at the top, and it's an admirable job, because to go 17 years without a losing record is not easy in the NFL. Even some of the elite coaches that we have in the league, they have had losing records at various points within their tenure. And to go 17 years without one, even if he coaches for 20 years, like, to me, I think he's still going to be coaching the Steelers for the next 3 seasons. If they keep this up and still have winning records for the next 3 years.
They just need a QB. Kenny Pickett's not the guy, man.
So I don't get Kenny Pickett. I mean, he's the backup now, because they're playing Mason Rudolph, and he's back and he's cleared. And
Mason Rudolph. I mean, I think the past 2 weeks we've seen what that offense can truly be. I mean, Pickens, despite the issue they had, they're realizing, bro, this guy's a phenom. Like, if you look at his measurables, you look at his ability, he's good. What they've had this whole season, and they haven't been utilizing him. Then Mason Rudolph suddenly starts blowing up.
I wanted George Pickens when he came out of the draft in 2002, but then we have the worst GM in the NFL. So when you have the GM that drafts by watching football movies, then you know where your team is heading. So this ain't even a shot at him, but
Dude watches highlight tapes instead of actual live game film.
So you know where things are headed. But he just had this is his first season of 1,104 yards, 5 touchdowns with poor QB play. So Pickens is also another good. I mean, the Steelers are good at picking wide receivers, so that was a great pick for them.
They've always been good at that.
But I think here's a wild card, and we'll talk about it more in the off season. If I'm Pittsburgh, like you're saying, they're quarterback away. Regardless of whatever happens at the end of this season, and we know Russell Wilson is going to be traded by the Denver Broncos. They should go get Russell Wilson, man.
I agree. I haven't seen anything from Kenny Pickett these last 2 years. No flashes at all. I've never seen a moment where he's taken over a game. I've never seen a wow play. I've just seen a serviceable player, someone that can back up a team, someone that can like hold a team together, but you're not going to be competing for anything. I'm sorry. That's the truth. They need to move on. Mason Rudolph isn't the long-term answer. I say you get Russell Wilson, pick him up for 1 year, and start planning for the future. Maybe they make an aggressive trade. You send a package over. I don't know, do something. No. I know he likes his players. I know he likes his players both sides, but you got to be aggressive, man.
The Steelers, this is an early prediction. They're gonna go get Russell Wilson. I think that's the most viable team for Russell Wilson out there, because they've got good set of young wide receivers, and then they have a great tight end, and then they have a great defense. Remember, Russell Wilson thrives when he plays in a team that has a solid defense that can be a top 10 defense. Remember when he was in Seattle, most of his early success came when they had Legion of Boom, and even when they gave him the reins, they always had a solid defense behind him. But anyway, get back to the playoff predictions. So before we move to the NFC, let's have a look at We talk about the Steelers. We talk about the Texans. Do you think CJ can do it? Beat
CJ
the
Stroud?
Colts
I
and
think he can.
get
I
in?
think there's a very good chance. In terms of QB, if it comes down to that, he's got the one up. But like I said, he hasn't played for a game or so. So for
Well, he
him,
played last week.
he played last week, yeah, but it's still sort of getting. He's not 100% yet, So it's going to be interesting to see. But I think he can. 100%. I think he can take this win. He's just got to have a clean game. If he has a clean game, if he throws no interceptions, he's taking it. I think he's got too much moxie. He's too accurate, and the game's not going to be too big for him. So it's never going to be a point where he's like, well, I guess we're out of the game now. Even if they're 10, 15 points down, I think he's still going to be calm. And like I said, if you give him time and a clean pocket, he's going to bust your head open. Like the Colts are going to, he'll do it quickly too. So he's got that elite level, you can't phase him. He's experienced, he's calm under pressure. He's shown that throughout the year, throughout the season. So I think they can definitely get this win, and I'm rooting for them as well. Besides, it's more impressive. It makes for a better story seeing CJ Stroud in that playoff picture. And imagine if he steals a game as a rookie, ruins it for a veteran team that had aspirations. Just think about that for a second. He goes in there, and I think he'll be facing who? Joe Flacco? Potentially?
No, Joe Flacco plays for the Browns. They're already in the playoffs. He's going to go going up against your favorite quarterback, your favorite backup quarterback.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
your favorite backup quarterback, the guy that used to want him in Philly.
Yep. Gardner Minshew. Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be interesting.
This is your dilemma.
Yeah, this is the thing. But don't get me wrong, I want CJ Stroud because I think it's an exciting story. Him to get a taste of that playoff berth this early in his career means he's going to build up that expectation, and that's only going to help him heading forward.
Okay, but let me burst your bubble a little bit because I'm here to tell you that the Colts, they beat the Texans earlier in the season.
Mm-hmm.
When they met on September 17th, I think the second week of the season. I think Anthony Richardson played that game, and they beat. That's the game that he got injured. Gardner Minshew came in, and they beat the Texans 31-20. Do you think it will repeat, or CJ has learned? He's going better as the season goes on. Funny enough, in that game, CJ threw for 384 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, I think we pretty much talked about every team here in the AFC bubble. I think let's make our predictions before we move on to the NFC picture. For me, I would say the 3 teams that will get in the end after this weekend's game is, I expect the Jags to beat the Titans, even though it's gonna be a tough game. Because Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans would love nothing more than to spoil it for the London Jags. But I think the Jags are in the position that they're in.
Yep.
And they'll find a way to probably get it done because the Titans, their team is not that great at the moment. So I predict the Jaguars to beat them to clinch the AFC South as division champions. I predict I say the Bills will get in. They'll beat Miami because it's win and you're in. So they'll beat Miami, and then I'm not sure if they beat them, they'll win a division. But regardless, I think the Buffalo is good enough to go to Miami and beat Miami, knowing their position that they're in and make the playoffs. So I go with the Jaguars, Bills, and I'm gonna go with the Colts. I'm gonna be a bit biased here because Gardner Minshew, I need you to show up for me, man. I need you to do something for me in this game, because if you beat them, we get our pick moved to the 15th pick, 16th pick. So our second first rounder can be in a favorable position, because if the Texans get the playoffs and they win the playoff game, our pick goes into the late 20s. And as a Cardinals fan, I'm going to be biased. I can't root for that. CJ's had an outstanding year. Regardless, he's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year and Rookie of the Year. That's all locked up. But Next year, get in the playoffs, win a playoff game. But this year, I think the Colts do it. I think the moment might be too much for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I think the Colts not quite there, not quite ready yet. But like I said, if they have a QB that, God,
They
I
do
don't
have
know,
a
mate.
QB.
They do have a
The QB got
QB.
injured, and
Yeah,
the QB is coming back next year.
yeah. So I think they're definitely gonna make that jump for sure. The Bills, they should get in. It's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, this season already they've underperformed. I don't see them making a deep run, but they're gonna have to retool themselves big time heading into next year. The Jaguars, things are rough. They haven't quite grown, especially with Trevor Lawrence there. So I think at some point they have to sort of have a look around. They've got a head coach, but they really need to sort of see where their team is at right now, because they've kind of like underperformed with what they have. But yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. Just before we head out, I want to sort of
So who are your three?
or what to win it or get in.
No, to get in from the AFC side, because there's three teams there's three spots still available.
I'm
to be
gonna
clinched.
say Texans, Bills,
Mhm.
and I'll say Jags.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Jags. Yeah. Just before we
Alright.
move on to the NFC, I just want to go over a few things. Jim Harbaugh's available. If you're the Las Vegas Raiders, I think it's a
Can we
two-horse
put
race.
that at the end? Okay,
You wanna put that
let's
at the
discuss that after the NFC.
We'll cross that after the NFC. Okay, cool. All right, cool. Because I feel a certain type of way about that. All right, so for the
All
NFC, in terms of the teams that have locked themselves in, we've actually got a large selection. We've got the 49ers with the 1 seed, Cowboys, Lions, Detroit, number 3. They've really performed well this season. Congrats to them, considering what they've been through this past decade. Well done. They've turned it around. My Eagles were currently 5th, but we are floundering. I'll go over that later on. This is terrible. Like, part of me wishes that this is all a setup and they're just trying to lure teams into like a false sense of security, and then we're just gonna turn it
Or
on.
get hot for the playoffs.
Yeah. There's no getting hot against the New York Giants. Even if we blow them out, it's like big deal. We've got problems. And then you got the Rams. You know, McVay has found a way, and I think that defensive coordinator of his, who is it? Raheem Morris, is it?
Yeah, Raheem Morris.
Raheem Morris. Yeah, he's going to be a head coach real soon because he's
Yep.
offensively they've been underperforming, but that's because of injuries, lack of availability, relying on rookies. But defensively, they've managed to hold together, and that's what's led to this record 9-7, and they've managed to get a spot as the 6th seed. So well done to the Rams. A lot of people thought this team was just waiting for their next QB, or he was just going to ride out. We've got 2 teams that are in the hunt, the Buccaneers and the Packers. Buccaneers currently 8-8, Packers also 8-8. Baker Mayfield has almost had like a rejuvenation year, and I think he's going to be their QB heading forward. He's shown that he can play well over there and that they can win, and he's not too long in the tooth. He's not too old where they're going to be like, well, your career is coming to an end. He's got a good half decade plus still left in him at around this level, so I think he's going to be their guy heading forward, which eases a lot of things for the Bucs in that they don't have to reach in the draft to try and acquire a QB. They've got their guy that they can use heading forward. Now the Packers, they've had like a tumultuous season. It's kind of up and down. 1 minute they're saying, what's his name? Who's their QB? Having a mind blank. Jordan Love, he's not the guy of long term, and then he has an amazing game or plays really well, shows some really good moxie, and they're like, nope, this is our guy. Having worked his way into the be in the hunt to hit a playoff berth in his first full year as the full dedicated starter, I think this is only a good sign. It shows that next season he's going to continue to grow. I don't think they're going to go far, but well done to them. Outside looking in, all right, we've got quite a few horses in this race. We've got the Seahawks, the Saints, the Vikings, and the Falcons. I have no idea. The Falcons are still here. I forgot they're an NFL team at this point. Arthur Smith, I don't. And there's talks that he's still going to be the coach next year. I don't know what's going on. But out of these teams,
listen, daddy's paid for you to be a NFL head coach. So as long as
Literally.
daddy daddy rolls the money into Arthur Banks account, hey, you got a job
I'm
for life.
I'm
It's one of
I'm
them
I'm,
ones.
I'm surprised this isn't being investigated. I'm surprised no one's bringing this up. It's as though the owner is.
Investigating for what?
It's
I'm
just
the
the
owner.
owner.
I chose to employ my head coach. What's your problem?
It's it's
I don't mind losing. I'm
it's
not complaining.
it's like the Falcon. Yeah, it's like the ownership is literally there. Like, no, we're good. We're not gonna get a new head coach. I mean, Harbaugh's available. We could really take a shot at him, but nah. We're not going to do that. We're just going to stick with Arthur Smith. He's our guy. Doesn't even use the running back he drafted in the top 10. Great. Real good head coach. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm gonna rule the Falcons and the Vikings. They are not getting in. Purely for the simple fact that Falcons win, they'll be 8-9. That's not getting in. Vikings win, they'll be 8-9. That's not really gonna get it done. The way the NFC playoff spot is like figuring it out, because the Buccaneers and the Saints. Now that's the intriguing matchup here, because the Bucks have got Carolina Panthers, and that is almost like a sure guaranteed win for the Buccaneers, right?
100%. Yeah, if they
Shout
drop
out
that
to
game.
Baker Mayfield. He found a team and has been able to rejuvenate his career with them this year. Quickly gonna look up at Baker Mayfield's stats for this year, and I think Tampa Bay is a team for him, at least for the next 3 to 4 years, unless and it took him a while. Cleveland let him go, bounced around in Carolina, bounced around in LA, found his way to Tampa Bay. I think he signed a 1-year deal this offseason with the Bucks.
Gonna get an extension.
Is gonna get, yeah, definitely they should extend him, because he's proven that he is the quarterback for that team. This season, 16 games played, 28 touchdowns, 10 INTs. That's very good numbers. That's sort of like elite level quarterback play numbers. 63% completion rate. He's been good. 64.4% completion, 3,907 yards. He's easily gonna pass for 4,000 yards now. 28 touchdowns, 10 INTs. Against the Panthers, he could easily throw between 2 to 4 touchdowns. Because the Panthers are very bad. He's got good receivers, Mike Evans. So I think this is gonna be simple. I think the Buccaneers win against the Panthers to win the division in the NFC South and make the playoffs at 9-8. The Saints are playing Atlanta. Atlanta is currently a mess, like we talked about. They definitely need a quarterback. And at the end of this discussion, we'll talk about some of the quarterbacks and which people to move, including the coaching thing that you mentioned. I think, and I believe, the Saints will beat Atlanta to finish 9-8. But I think the Buccaneers win the division.
Yep.
The Saints they'll have the same record, but the Buccaneers win the division, because currently they are first, and if they beat the Carolina Panthers, they win the division. The Saints versus Atlanta, I don't think it matters much who wins there, as long as the Buccaneers don't lose to the Carolina Panthers.
Yep.
And if they lose to the Panthers, that's the biggest shocking result of the whole season.
Yep. They don't.
You
you can't lose, especially if a playoff berth is on the line. Like you can't.
You can't lose to the worst team in the league that has clinched the number 1 seed for the Bears.
Yep.
You can't do it.
You can't.
The Packers versus the Bears is an interesting one, because as it stands, if the Packers beat the Bears, they make the playoffs.
Yeah.
As a 7th seed. If the Bears beat the Packers,
they ruin someone's
and the
party.
Seahawks beat the Cardinals,
Yep.
Seahawks gets in. So it's like 2-game implications here. I predict my Cardinals to beat the Seahawks. Kyler's playing. Kyler had a great game against the Eagles. He seems to have found his way back. So I think my Cardinals will play spoiler a little bit there.
Yep.
And beat the Seahawks. All the Packers gotta do then in that instance is to beat the Bears. And I know I've seen a lot of talk that the Bears might upset the Packers. I don't see it, especially after the game Jordan Love had last week against the Vikings, who is a better team than the Bears. Although the Bears defense have been playing well in the last couple of weeks, they've been an uptick. They have some very good pieces on the defensive side of the ball. I do believe the Packers will find a way to win this game. and be the 7th seed. So I'll go Buccaneers, Packers.
Okay, yeah, no, I feel that the Bucks are definitely going to be able to make it in. I think that's a no-brainer. They've earned it. Every other team, though, I think obviously Vikings aren't getting in. Detroit, I think, is going to handle them comfortably. Looking at the Saints and the Falcons, that's going to be like a toss-up. Although I've got my bet on the Saints, I just think they're obviously a much better built team from the ground up. The Falcons just aren't a championship ready team right now, and it's a miracle they've made it this far already. I mean, that's more testimony to the teams that would, like, I think the Bears, the Giants, Commanders, Panthers being in that same division. That's what sort of, well, not division, conference. That's what sort of led to them sort of having the record that they've got. Make no mistake, if they were on the other side, they wouldn't even be in this discussion, with the other teams. Seahawks, like I said, I'm hoping your Arizona Cardinals, kick them out. Here's the thing: if teams are already eliminated and they're playing a team that's on the hunt, they love nothing better than to drag that team down with them. They want to be part of the
absolutely.
They're playing this game. They're going to play harder than you think, because they're like, bro, this team's already in or on the way in. Let's just make sure they don't get in, period, by winning this game. So I have no doubt the Arizona Cardinals are going to sort of try and take a little bit of vengeance. They're like, we're out of it. We're taking them with us. All right. So I think they're going to beat the Seahawks. So my bet for teams to go in, obviously Bucks, Packs, and I'm gonna go with, I'm probably gonna say the Saints. Yeah, Saints. And that, I think, is going to be the main portion. But no, in terms of the teams that are eliminated, there's not really much of a story here. I think the Panthers, ownership, I just don't know what to say. I mean, are you ready to sort of move the topic on a little bit, Pete?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the teams that have been eliminated, there's not much to say.
Yeah.
I think our next discussion, when we talk about the off season, we'll touch on it.
Yeah.
Especially teams at the top.
Panthers, just having a quick glance through the Panthers, I think their owner has literally, he's going to have to, they had such a good coaching unit in terms of, they had a QB coach in McCown who's historically great at developing other guys in the locker room. He's helped so many young QBs become legendary young quarterbacks. So he understands that, you had a good running back coach, offensive QB. Deuce Staley, a lot of people, especially in Philadelphia, have been tooting this guy's horn the whole time. Obviously, with the Sirianni, he comes from the Reed tree of coaching. So for him, it's not really, when Sirianni came in, he kind of like got adopted into that. And I think Sirianni wanted his guys, which he's brought through. But I wouldn't be surprised if Deuce bounces back and he finds his way onto a team. He might even make it back to Kansas City. Who knows? They need a fresh, new approach as far as that offense is concerned. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring him in to some degree. But the Panthers owner, like, what are you doing? You had a really good nucleus, a good head coach that was going to develop your quarterback. That's the whole point. I think he got a reality check because he thought his team was a QB away. It really wasn't. Your roster is completely deprived. You've got no weapons. Your defense isn't that good. This is a complete rebuild. And it seems to me like the owner didn't understand that. If you're a Panthers fan, you're in for a long road. I don't think you're going to see that much of improvement next year, especially with an undersized QB. It's going to be hard. Your Cardinals, I want to apologize to Gannon. Not because of, I think he always got bad press for not passing, not rushing with the linebackers. But I think he understood why. I think he knew our Eagles defense, roster-wise, could not do that because we didn't have the linebacker play there needed to make those plays.
Exactly.
He always rushed with the base 4, and he kept everyone back.
Yes, but even rushing with the base 4, you guys had 70 sacks last year, and that's with just the base 4. So it shows to me he knew what he was doing. How to get the sacks without blitzing.
This is 100%. We'll cycle back, but this is 100% collapse from our our DC, Desai. Like he's gone at the end of the season. Commanders, I don't know what they're gonna do. They're definitely going to get a quarterback, but do they reach, or do they keep developing the guy they've got? You know, they have some pieces they could draft.
No. Howard's done. Howard didn't do nothing. Don't stamp up for him anymore. I know what he's doing. You're a big Sam Howard guy. Now's not the time. He's done. Like, you got the opportunity to play them out of considering a quarterback. When you're number 2 in a draft with great quarterbacks coming out in 2024, you look to grab a guy. Now the question is, here's the question. The biggest question is the first 2 picks in this draft, the way I see it, because Dallas is definitely going to beat the Commanders next week. Because your Eagles, should Dallas fail to beat the Commanders, you have the opportunity to win the division. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think Dallas is going to stomp them, win the division ahead of your Eagles. You guys have the same records. Just the Cowboys will win the division because of strength of schedule, whatever they work it out, because you guys will essentially be both 12-4 at the end of the day. But the thing is, when you look at it, the biggest question now going into the off season is the Bears situation. Even if they beat the Packers this coming weekend, the question is, do they keep Justin Fields? And I think when you evaluate it, he's improved this year, but the biggest thing is, when you consider quarterbacks picked in the first round, right, and you look at their trajectory and how they progress, when you put everything together, like his passing and rushing stats is in favor of Justin Fields, but then the passing numbers and the improvement there,
the stretch,
it's not there because here's the thing, like, if you go to quarterbacks that are drafted in the first round, and I think I'm not even gonna do the top 10 picks because he was picked in 11th with 11th pick, right? So if you look at someone like Josh Allen, he was drafted, I think it was 17th overall. No, he was drafted with the 7th pick, so he wasn't a top 5 pick, but still like in the top 10. His first year was pretty bad, but his second season, 20 touchdowns, 9 picks. Third season, 37 touchdowns, 10 picks. I think when the Bears added DJ Moore in the offseason, the expectation was for Justin Fields' passing numbers to be up there. Granted, they had some issues with play calling and that kind of stuff, but still, the question would be, and it's in 2 folds. Do they want to keep Justin Fields and run the risk of having to pay him $40 million? I think if they keep Justin Fields, it would be like the Daniel Jones situation, right? Whereby the Giants kept Daniel Jones, they were forced to give him the $40 million contract per year. So he's not. I don't think Justin Fields would demand top QB money.
No, I don't think he will, because I think he. Honestly,
but
I don't think he wants to be there. I think even if they do pay, he's going to take it and he's going to take a low contract so he knows he can get out and another team can pick him up. Like, I think that's what he's gonna go for.
Why if you don't want to be there, play awful so they can trade you? And he's trying to be professional here. For me, I just think the Bears should just take Caleb Williams. You know, I'm not speaking with no Cardinals bias, because Marvin Harrison Jr. needs to go to a team that's picking in the top 5, that has a franchise quarterback in place that will help him break the rookie receiving record that Puka Nacua set this year. There's only one team that can help him do that. That team plays in the desert. That's all I'm saying. So, I mean, you know, it's going to be interesting when we talk about these things in the offseason and what the Bears decides to do. My personal wish, and I think your personal wish, is Atlanta Fires. I'm hoping Arthur Blank will get some courage and fire Arthur Smith after this weekend, bring in a new head coach, trade for Justin Fields if the Bears decides to trade him.
Do it.
And Justin Fields in Atlanta will be like Mike Vick 2.0. You know, not as fast as Mike Vick, but has great running ability.
It's kind of like
have an offensive coordinator that can develop his passing game and his skill set. Because I think he needs a change of scenery to really hit it. And the they already have the weapons. They already have the offensive line that can, do that. So
Yep.
I think that'll be the perfect place for him. Like we talked about earlier, Russell Wilson in Denver.
Yep.
I believe the best place for Russ will be Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think it probably might happen because Mike Tomlin will take him on. And I think the key reason is that if the Steelers bring in Russell Wilson, he's 35, right?
Yep.
And he can sort of mentor Kenny Pickett.
Yep. So Kenny Pickett can
Okay.
sit back and
So
learn.
Kenny Pickett can't sit and sort of like assume the Geno Smith role because when Russell Wilson went, Geno took over the starter's job and was sensational that year, winning comeback player of the year. So it could be that type. And Russell Wilson, 35, play the next 3 to 4 years, retire and hand the keys over to Kenny Pickett. It gives Pickett an opportunity to learn from a veteran quarterback that's played in the league
If
for such a
Russ will
long
help
time.
him, I mean, Russ is gonna, like I said, I mean, the Steelers are a good fit, but it's if that locker room is really gonna accept Russ. That's the ultimate question. He's got to fit into that unit. That being said, I think Caleb Williams, I think Justin Fields wants them to draft Caleb Williams. Personally, I think he wants out of there. And it's unfortunate the Chicago Bears are gonna ruin 2 quarterbacks. Unfortunately, I think Justin Fields, there's a lot of teams who still hold him really high. If he was in this year's draft, he'd probably be the number 2 after Caleb, compared to everyone else in this draft. So I think,
Yeah, probably, yeah.
yeah. Remember, that's how I look at QBs. I take the last 5 years and I say, where would they rank? Justin Fields, if he's in this draft, he's the number 2 quarterback. In fact, him and Caleb are right there, neck and neck. It depends who you want to pick. So I think there are a lot of suitors for him. I've heard like some talk, some CBS analysts have said that New York are going to bounce up and try and take Caleb. They're going to sort of sell the house.
Yeah,
I've heard some people
I've seen
saying that.
in mock drafts.
I've seen that in
New
mock
York
drafts.
is potential to go get Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
And
Washington
that could
as
very
well is
happen.
another one where they
I
might.
mean, but if I'm the best, I won't take it. I mean, New York will come. They'll give you the 3 first-round picks that you need, a first this year, first next year, and they'll give you some good players.
A good one.
They'll give you a haul.
Yep.
But I wouldn't take it if I'm the best. I mean, Caleb Williams, despite he's got some maturity issues, and look, he's 20, 21. Every young player has some maturity issues, and they're gonna eventually grow at some point when they come into the league. But you want Caleb Williams for the talent, the potential that he has, the off-schedule plays that he has, and watching both of them, the thing is, let's do a quick comparison here in terms of like college numbers here, because I mean, Justin Fields was great at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, come on.
Here's the thing, like
because Justin Fields at Ohio State, right?
Mm.
His best season was
it'll be even
his 2019. I think it was 2019 when he threw for 41 touchdowns, 3 INTs. That was his sophomore year, because 2020 was the COVID year, so he didn't play a whole season. They only played 8 games that year. He went 7-1, 22 touchdowns, 6 INTs, because that was the COVID season that he played. So obviously his numbers in his junior year wasn't as high because he didn't play enough games, right? His best season, he threw 41 touchdowns, 3 INTs. Caleb Williams' best season in college, I would say, was his second season as well of USC. He threw 42 touchdowns, 5 INTs.
Very similar.
So it's very similar, but here's the caveat. Caleb Williams was the best player in college football in 2022.
Yep. I think, but that was because of his high-flying offense. You know, you've got 2 different teams. Ohio State can actually play defense. So Justin Fields didn't have to show his legs. When he came into the league, no one knew he was that fast. No one knew he could juke people out.
But here's the thing,
because he never had to show it.
The year Justin Fields, 241 touchdowns, 3 INTs. Joe Burrow was throwing 60 touchdowns to 6 INTs. So obviously Joe Burrow's going to win the Heisman.
Yeah.
Because his numbers was much higher.
So,
but the thing is, when you look at both of them play, I think. But then also you go take into account the rookie pay scale. That's also another factor, because no matter what happens, if you keep Justin Fields for 2 more years, you're still gonna end up having to pay him at a base salary of 40 million.
Yep.
If he explodes in 2024, Justin Fields has an incredible year, maybe throw 35 touchdowns, 10 INTs, 4,000 passing yards. That number is going to shoot up to 50 million. He's coming for the money now.
Yeah,
so that's the risk. If you keep Justin Fields in 2024 and he has an outstanding year, you're going to pay him 50 million plus.
Yeah, I think if you're the Bears, you need to not looking at Justin Fields, you need to work out what you're going to do with that coaching staff. You've already seen it in effect. Eberflus, you're a if you're a defensive guy, if you're a defensive head coach, you need a quarterback in place. You need to be a top 10 defense. If you're a defensive coach, head coach in the NFL, your defense has to be top 10. Has to be. Because if it's not, why are we keeping you here? Because all these other offensive minds are off high flying and their defenses are respectable, if not better than yours. So he hasn't taken care of his side of the ball. I think if you're staying with Eberflus, you've already seen an Eberflus team with Justin Fields. So you got to go with Caleb. You got to go with something different. All right. Now, if you're moving on from Eberflus, that's on the GM over there. He's got to make a choice. The ownership have to make a choice. If you're moving on from Eberflus, you're taking Luke Getsby with him. I mean, Luke Getsby needs to go regardless. But if you're moving on from Eberflus, then you can sort of say,
like Luke Getsby.
Huh? What?
You don't like Luke Getsby?
I don't. I think he does not suit, like, Justin Fields. As much as we hate to say it, who was their former head coach before Eberflus? It was what's it called? Former Steeler at offensive coordinator. His rookie season.
Oh, it was Matt Nagy. Chiefs.
Matt Nagy in his rookie season. Look how Justin Fields was playing. Notice how when he started being like electric, creating plays, what did Matt Nagy do? He didn't rein that in. He said, just be a bit careful, but I'm going to allow you to be yourself because I can see it's explosive and it's working for us. You know, we can then build off that. He got injured.
No, because I think because the Bears were going to move on from Matt Nagy because he had had enough time, and rarely do teams allow head coaches to have a second quarterback to groom, right? Once the Trubisky thing didn't work, Nagy was on the way out. But actually, now that you're talking about it, I feel like maybe Justin Fields would have been playing better if he had stuck with Nagy, because Matt Nagy had coached, was with the Chiefs when they drafted, I think, Patrick Mahomes, probably. Or he could have spoken to Andy Reid. They have that relationship there, saying that I've got this talented young kid, similar to Patrick in terms of talent. He's erratic and stuff. How do I mold him within the structure of his talent?
Exactly.
So that could have been something
Matt Nagy understood that. And I think
Matt Nagy could have done.
When they got rid of Matt Nagy, they took his disciple too. So even if usually, like, let's say you might keep an offensive coordinator, so you're running a lot of the same things, that's also not work to Justin Fields' favor. You're constantly changing coordinators. And if you change again next year, he's going to have to learn a brand new offense from scratch again. So, like I said, as much as I don't think Justin Fields is the problem, I think he wants out of Chicago. And I think it's the best for Chicago to move on. Because if you switch coordinators, it's going to be the same season again with the same head coach. I think he wants to move. I guarantee you, he wants them to draft Caleb Williams, because you've seen his body language. He's not bothered anymore, man. He's there like, please get me out of here. Draft this guy so I can move on.
I mean, here's the caveat, right? So Eberflus has been with Chicago for 2 years, right? So that was last year's 3-14, this year's 7-9. So clearly showing a 4-win improvement, right? But here's the thing. I've also heard reports that Eberflus is going to come back because he came in with Ryan Poles as a new GM. So normally when they come as a tandem, they stay, and if one is going to go, the other one will have to go. But the way I see it,
first season, right?
So basically, the Bears president currently, I think the Bears currently, what do you call it? Are gonna keep Eberflus. I heard a report a couple of weeks ago, or last week or so. There was a report saying that the Bears Yeah, Eberflus, one of the best beat writers. I'm just reading it now. I think. Hold on one second. I mean, do we still have our chat? Let me open the chat. I'll just pop it in the chat for you to have a look at it.
Mm.
Um, so he said that he still have his sources at Hallas Hall from my writing days. I was able to confirm what we've heard. Um, Eberflus is returning as head coach. He's also verified that the GM Ryan Post made his decision about a week ago to stay with Justin Fields and not draft a QB at number one. They will trade number one pick, but hopefully draft Marvin Harrison. But that will likely mean not moving very far down the draft board. If they get a better offer and trade for a wide receiver, that they can move outside the top 3 in the draft. They are worried the Cardinals will draft Harrison. Now plans have changed based circumstances, however, I feel solid about what I'm reporting. I think some of what he's saying is mixed. I think the part where it says Eberflus is saying is true. The decision about keeping Justin Fields, however, I think is not true, because here's the caveat. They will say that Ryan Poles and Eberflus got there after Justin Fields was drafted. So remember, a lot of GMs and head coaches always say that wasn't my guy. That was the guy that came to inherit, and I don't think I can win with that guy. So give me the opportunity to go draft my guy. You get what I'm saying? So the caveat here is this. Also, sometimes they could still stay with Fields and then trade the number one pick, move down one spot with the Commanders, and the Commanders could come up to get Caleb Williams. Because we all know Ron Rivera is gonna get fired. We know the Commanders GM will probably go as well. So they'll bring in a new GM, a new head coach with his staff, and most likely the Commanders will be targeting a quarterback. Now the question now becomes: will the Bears choose to draft Caleb Williams, or would they trade with the Commanders, take Williams, and then Chicago maybe take Marvin Harrison Jr.? But I'll say this: if I'm Marvin Harrison Jr., I refuse to pay for the Bears, because you're not gonna be a great wide receiver if you go to the Bears.
Yep.
The Bears are not known for producing great wide receivers. The Cardinals, we are, because we had Larry Legend and he was amazing.
He'll be the all-time best Bear receiver in his fourth season.
So here's the thing though, and then also the Giants as well. That connection for them winning the number one, coming up all the way from 5 to 1, to get, So it's a lot of interesting decisions this off season. So while the season wraps up, playoffs wraps up, Super Bowl wraps up, I think we would look to trying to do a weekly podcast. I think we might do some draft series, try and break down these guys, and see what we think in terms of their gameplay this off season. There's a lot more content that's gonna come from us. Now talk to me about the Harbaugh thing. You mentioned something to do with the Raiders.
Yeah. So Jim Harbaugh is a 2-horse race. All right, it's a 2-horse race. The Patriots aren't involved in this because they need to work out what they're going to do with Bill Belichick. They would have been worked out what they're doing to be in this race. So unfortunately, they've kind of put themselves out of that race, because Jim Harbaugh in New England, that would be an interesting one, but that's not going to happen. It's between the Las Vegas Raiders and the LA Chargers. People are like, Jim Harbaugh might not go, he might not go. I believe Michigan are about to win a championship, but don't sleep on Washington. I wouldn't be surprised if they come with the offset. Washington have amazing receivers. Those guys are going to be in the first 2 rounds. I'm pretty sure that whole receiving core. I'm sure
I think Michael Penix is just definitely getting drafted in the first round.
He's definitely going. He is definitely going, and you know why?
Probably maybe top 10.
Top 10, yeah, because he's played a lot of football.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to phase him. This isn't like Caleb Williams, who's done like 2 seasons, moved to schools, relying completely on his athletic ability and just being a better athlete than everyone else on the field. Michael Penix has played a lot of football. Remember who else played 5 seasons? Brock Purdy. These guys are just level. right? Nothing's going to phase them. They're going to play within the system. They have a lot more accuracy and they understand concepts a lot better than these guys who are naturally talented, perhaps haven't got that experience. So Michael Penix is going to go high. That receiving core of Washington, they're probably, all of those receivers starting are probably going to be gone by the third round. All of them. He's got a great receiving core, but in terms of a complete team, they don't have the NFL bodies that Michigan have. They don't have the speed. They don't have the strength. But what they do have is a QB that might be able to compete. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's an upset. All right. Regardless of that, Jim Harbaugh has acquired an agent, Tom Brady's agent. All right. Why is he doing this? An NFL agent.
Wait, who's acquired Tom Brady's agent?
Jim Harbaugh. He's acquired Tom Brady's agent. And who's Tom Brady a minority owner for? The Raiders.
Las Vegas Raiders.
What's happening with Michigan Wolverines right now? Sanctions. He's being investigated.
Oh, he's gonna go.
Which means, why would you stick around? If you win a championship, you go off on top. He completed his mission. It took him 5 seasons, I believe. He's turned Michigan from an irrelevant blue blood to a national championship. He's done he's earned every single penny, regardless of how long that deal was. I know it was for like 10 years, but he's achieved what he's wanted to do in 5 or 6. So he's got nothing left to achieve. So you've hired an agent. You've got investigations by the NCAA. You know what? Let me wash my hands with this. I'm going back to the league and I'm going to get a job and I can pick where I want to go. The Raiders are there. All right. And he's the only other coach I'd pick over, what's his name? Anthony Pierce. Because if Jim Harbaugh doesn't get that job, you go with Anthony Pierce regardless. There is no one else. He's the only person which you could say with a straight face, we're going to go with Jim Harbaugh over Anthony Pierce. And you know what? Everyone would kind of be like, you know what? I get it. That's okay. That's right. But anyone else, you go with Anthony Pierce. Now the Chargers, their unique situation is they have a QB already. They have a generational quarterback. Jim Harbaugh can win irrespective of the QB that is playing. He's very much like a Shanahan in that he will run the ball, he will build offensive line, defensive line, and punishing defense. Tight ends, run the ball. He just needs the QB to not make a mistake. He's taken Colin Kaepernick to the Super Bowl. We've seen what he did with the 49ers. We've seen what he did at Stanford. He won with Alex Smith. We've seen what he did at Stanford. The quarterback is irrelevant. Look what's happening in the championship game. Michael Penix blows the Michigan QB out. They're not even in the same ballpark, but it doesn't matter because he'll win in spite of the QB. Now, can you imagine if you give him a guy that can take over a game? This is it. He's basically looking at it like this. If you give me him, I go to the Chargers with a defense that has talent. You've got playmakers on offense. This is such a fast turnaround. He could be competing for a Super Bowl, not the first year, but once he gets his guys in, he's going to be competitive in the second. I mean, I'm not talking deep playoff run in year 2. And then he could be competing in the championship game, 3rd year, 4th year in. So he's going to the league. I think the Chargers job is a bona fide hit for him. I don't think money's not going to be enough because he's looking at it like, I'm going to get paid a lot from the Chargers anyway, and I'm going to win a Super Bowl. It's a layup at this point. Like, everything is in place. So Jim Harbaugh will be the new head coach for the Chargers. It's just a matter of when they announce it. The Bengals, just like the rest of the league, is realizing this is a backup league. You need to have a backup now. You can't be playing around. If your QB goes down, that's it, you're done.
Okay, before we talk about the Bengals, right? It comes down to this. Actually, you're right. You sum it up very well. I don't have much to add. It comes down to 2 teams: the Chargers, Raiders, Las Vegas, or Los Angeles.
Yeah,
those are the 2 teams that are going to be the front runners for Jim Harbaugh in the Harbaugh sweepstakes. Any of the NFL openings is not happening.
Yeah,
the Panthers is not happening because
he's not going there.
The owner, see, what the Panthers need to do is that David Tepper needs to. One of these NFL owners need to mentor David Tepper, like the Jerry Jones or Robert Kraft. Need to teach him that own an NFL team's patience. You can't.
Oh, you've cut out.
Culture,
You're back.
all that kind of stuff. So even if the first year is absolutely horrible, the only way is up, you know. But I think what's pissed off David Tepper is the fact that they traded so much for Bryce Young and ended up giving them one overall pick to the Bears anyway. And that's what's really in his crowd, because after seeing what CJ Stroud is doing, it can't be heartbreaking to trade for number overall pick and Bryce Young not to even play, or the Panthers team play to a standard whereby the pick that you're giving the Bears is like a top 10 pick, but now that pick looks like it's the number one overall pick, and they look to be the best. If they decide to draft Caleb Williams, they're gonna get a better quarterback than Bryce Young, and that's what Tepper is pissed about. But he needs to exercise some patience. Now back to the Harbaugh situation. If I'm him, I think the front runners, like you said, is the Chargers, because they have a quarterback in place, they have a great roster, they have great defensive pieces. I think the Chargers actually need a head coach that can put everything together, and Harbaugh is certainly the type, tough nosed. I think he'll make sure that their front seven, both on the defense and also on the offensive line, is solid class. Because if you watch his teams in Michigan, his teams with the 49ers, Stanford, Harbaugh has always prioritized having strong trenches play, and that's why I always keep harping about NFL head coaches. Football is a game whereby if you can build, if you look at the best teams, they always have the best defense for the offensive line.
Yep.
Look at the Ravens, the number one seed. They have that. The 49ers, they have top defensive line,
Detroit.
top offensive line.
Yep.
Detroit as well. And that's how you build winning football teams, having excellent line play. If both lines are evenly matched, that's when the skill players comes into play. But if a team with a better O-line, D-line will always win 9 times out of 10 over a team built on skill players alone. So, and the Raiders is a very intriguing matchup. The only thing is the Raiders don't have a quarterback. When I say they don't have a quarterback, they don't even have a quarterback that I think Harbaugh can even win with it. I know you said Harbaugh can win in spite of the quarterback, but Harbaugh can win with an average quarterback, if that makes sense. The Raiders don't even have an average quarterback right now.
They need to throw it up. They're
Jimmy
gonna
G is
draft
probably
one.
gone after this season.
Yep.
That O'Connell young quarterback that they're playing. Remember when they played the Chiefs last week or 2 weeks ago, and they won the game 2017 off the strength of their defense?
Yep.
Because that quarterback did not throw a single pass in the third quarter or in the second half, basically.
Yeah.
And they won the game.
Yeah.
So it shows, and in this draft, where the Raiders are. If I look at their record, they're 7-9. Currently, in the hold on a second. Let me look at.
Drake May's gonna be gone. He's not gonna be on the board.
If I look at
Jaden Daniels, not gonna draft him.
Currently,
Caleb
the
Drake.
Raiders are projected to pick
Michael
11th
Penix.
overall pick. They could move up certainly from the 11th spot
Michael
for a
Penix.
quarterback. You know, if they swap with Atlanta at 9, they could target Michael Penix. They could come up all the way up to 7 to get Jaden Daniels. Although right now the projection says it's gonna be quarterback. The first 3 picks might be a quarterback. The way things are playing out at the moment, but the way I see it, I think Harbaugh goes to the Chargers because they have the quarterback in play, and I think he believes he can turn and improve the play of Justin Herbert and build that team into and I think he'll love the challenge of dethroning the Kansas City Chiefs, because the Chiefs own that division now. Now, if Harbaugh comes in, let's say his first year, he's dethroned the Chiefs, now that's a statement. And coaches love having these kind of statements. They love, having to come in and challenge the status quo. It's one of the reasons why Sean Payton went to the Denver Broncos, and that's why he's looking to get rid of Russell Wilson, because I think Sean Payton, yes, he did Russell Wilson dirty. Yes, all that is true. But I think Denver is also another team that we haven't considered in the quarterback stakes, because I feel like Sean Payton is just thinking, I need to find my next Drew Brees, and he really wants to dethrone the Chiefs as well.
Jaden Daniels.
But actually, I want to see Harbaugh in the AFC West, because then you have 3 top elite coaches battling it out. That division is going to be amazing. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be hard. Like I said, the only way the Raiders get Harbaugh is if they throw you know how you have like ridiculous money. You know how he paid what was his name?
McDaniel.
No. Before that.
Oh,
Chucky.
ah,
I can't remember his name. Let me just put NFL Chucky.
oh,
You know who I mean? John Gruden.
yes, yes.
So he gave John Gruden
Gruden.
stupid money. We're talking like something like just short of a, like, what was it? Over like nearly, like, I don't know how much that. We're talking like nearly 100, right? All right. You might have to double that. You might have to double that. And if you do that, maybe, because you know what his agent's gonna say is he's gonna go win a Super Bowl in with the Chargers. Why should he come to your team and have to build? They already have pieces in place. Why should he be your head coach? You might have to pay him $200 million guaranteed. But the good thing about that is you
That's a lot for a head coach, bro.
That's a lot. But
so you pretty much telling me I gotta pay 50 million a year. I gotta pay my coach 50 mils a year.
Well, yeah, because you're basically saying, Harbaugh, if you play for me, you're not gonna get that Super Bowl, but you're gonna get a lot of money. You might get a Super Bowl. It's gonna be a lot harder. You've got to build this roster up. It's competitive. You're in Las Vegas as well. It's it's LA's LA. You know, LA if the Chargers get that, they're gonna be more inclined because they're in LA. If you're not winning, you're irrelevant. So, like, it's really interesting, but we are 100% sure. I feel as though he's definitely going. As soon as he hired that agent, and with the sanctions coming in, it was basically like a no-brainer. You know, and a lot of coaches in college probably want him gone. I know Nick Saban sure as hell does.
Well, if he doesn't go, and the allegations, they pay some money to let it go away, Michigan probably gonna win the next 3 championships.
Yeah,
because their roster championship ready to dominate.
He's not going anywhere. But it's gonna be an interesting off season heading forward. Just before we sort of wind down, obviously my Eagles are currently going through a hard spot right now. It's almost as though it's some kind of like dream scenario, because this is one of the biggest collapses I've seen. And it's not like we're playing well and just getting bad luck calls, injuries. We're losing to injuries. No, we're actually just losing games. Teams are coming back. Teams are scoring on us. This final stretch, every other analyst I've seen has basically said, yeah, they're going to clinch this. And it's a no-brainer. They've got the New York Giants, Arizona, and the New York Giants. There's no way Dallas can... Like, the Eagles aren't going to lose these games, but we just have. And I'm not sure about this week against New York either. I don't know what version of the Eagles is going to come out. This isn't good. I don't think we can win a Super Bowl if we're playing like this. Something is fundamentally wrong with what's happening. I think it's falling hard on the defensive coordinator, John Desai, and obviously Brian Johnson, who was touted as a head coach candidate halfway through the season. I think his aspirations are basically gone. I think both of those guys are gone. I've heard some talking that Sirianni is on the hot seat. This is a joke. This is just fans being like, he was the head coach during the Super Bowl run. Like, come on, guys, let's just get real. It's not Sirianni. I've even heard some people talk about Jalen Hurts. Oh, Pete, are you there? I've also heard some people bring up, oh, you're back. I've also heard some people talking about Jalen Hurts, saying he's too one-dimensional. That he's not, put it like this, he could be better. You know, he can't create, you know, like all these top QBs. He pretty much plays within the system, and he can't create those moments. If play's not there, he's either going to throw it away, he's going to try and run, but he can't create. So there's a lot going on here, but there's definitely going to be an autopsy at the end of this season to work out what exactly went wrong. We're not going to win it all.
You can't backtrack
as long as
now,
as long as Dallas don't, then I'm happy, man. As long as Dallas don't win, as long as Dallas get eliminated first of all, and I'm worried about Dallas because that curse is gone now. They put Jimmy Johnson into that Ring of Honor. That could be it. This could be their season. This is what I'm scared of.
Okay, so here's the thing. You can't backtrack now because you said last season Jalen Hurts proved that he's a franchise quarterback, right?
He is. Yeah.
First is first. Okay, you guys are going to beat the Giants. I don't see any, because if you also lose the Giants, then all hell's breaking loose right there. By the way, the Ravens have a bigger issues to deal with, and I just needed to mention that. Although Beckham apparently has hired a boat for them to go and chill on their bio.
No, you are joking me. Please tell me this is a joke, Pete. No, Pete. Please tell me this is a joke. No, 2 days. You're joking
Bruv,
me. Teammates
I'm not
rehashing Yak
kidding,
plan
bro.
for Giants. No, don't do this, Odell.
Because
He's not serious, man.
it
He's
was
not about to win. He
speculated that
doesn't
he's
want to win a
hired a
championship.
a $10,000 yacht or something, yeah.
No.
And he hasn't confirmed or denied it, but people are saying that, hey, apparently it's fake though. They said it's fake.
Yeah,
But
no. I think it's just
I won't put
it'll
it past
rile
him
up.
to just say, like,
Can you imagine a boat picture with like Lamar Jackson with his shirt off, holding a ball? They're all just chilling, and they get bumped in the first round.
Okay, so here's my take on your Eagles, right? It goes to prove that Sirianni had a great coaching staff last season. Your defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon, who's now Mike Cardinals head coach, and Shane Steichen, who's the Colts head coach, were excellent coordinators last season because they held the fort. They called outstanding plays. They coordinated defense and offense, all the way straight to the Super Bowl. Although in a Super Bowl, your fans largely blame Jonathan Gannon for that loss. I don't think it's on Jonathan Gannon because in the second half, the points that you guys scored compared to the Chiefs with such a big lead is atrocious. Similar to how the Falcons blew it against the Patriots a couple of almost 10 years ago. Is the same thing. Like when you are up in a Super Bowl, in the second half, you know that the team is coming, so you got to find a way to score at least 1 touchdown or 2 touchdowns to keep that lead maintained, to keep the lead going. So I just feel like my question to you, and it's really a question to you, is do you trust Sirianni to correct the mistakes he made this offseason hiring the 2 coordinators? Because certainly your fans are demanding it, and I believe changes are going to be made, and both your DC and OC will probably be let go. But the question is, who does Sirianni replaces them with? And I don't think you guys are gonna go far in the playoffs. It depends on who you face in the playoffs. But I don't know if you guys can write everything to be right for the playoffs. Can you guys hop on the bandwagon? Because yesterday I saw, before we go into the coordinator question, first question is I saw someone made a comparison to the Ravens, right? When they won Ray Lewis's second Super Bowl. So what happened was the Ravens was teetering like you guys are. They lost, I think, their last 3-4 games in the regular season, and they were united behind Ray Lewis because Ray Lewis was going to retire in the off season. And if you could tell, in the postseason, Joe Flacco played his best football ever of his career, where he threw, I think, 11 touchdowns in the postseason to 0 INTs on the way for the Ravens to win a Super Bowl. Now the question is, can your team rally around Jason Kelce and play inspired like that, or you don't think the issues are far-fetched for that to happen?
I think Jason Kelce.
Can you win one for big Jace?
I think we can. We can definitely find like a second wind. But something has to change. I think this is like a root issue. So it's mainly like something is not being done properly with regards to like preparation, intensity. I think it's a case of like both our defenses and our offenses being vanilla. Like they're just not they're not NFL caliber pure offenses. Like they're too simple to sort out. They're too simple to decipher. And I think that's what's happened. I think the both the offensive scheme and the defensive scheme has been figured out. But that's because both coordinators have been too simple. You know, they don't know how to adapt. They don't know how to change things up. People like, there's memes on like our Reddit, like we only run like 4 different plays, you know, run pass option right up the middle, run pass option outside, deep bomb to AJ Brown or Smitty, and the touch push. That's it. That's all we run as an offense. And teams have realized, like, at the end of the season, teams know how to stop it. They're like, if we remove the run pass option, they literally have no, and we rush Jalen from the outside in, they have nowhere else to go. You know, so I think that's what's happened. Defensively, keep your linebackers home. Look, I reckon you've got to swallow your pride. You've almost got to go back into that Gannon playbook, because this roster is essentially the same, if not better, defensively, with younger talent. So it's not a talent issue. I don't think it's a player issue. I think it's schematic. Like, they're like you need to look at what Gannon did, and you need to just replicate that down the stretch. He didn't rush, and we blew him up for that, but maybe that needs to happen. We need to go back to rushing with base. Don't send pressure, because it's obvious if we send pressure, we get completely demolished in the second level as well as deep. Rush with the talent that you've got up front, and let the linebackers just stay back so you can stop everything going deep. I think that's the only way we can do it. It's too late now to sort of change the whole scheme, but we definitely have to do things differently heading into the playoffs, or else we're not going to go that far. We're not going to go that far. And Jalen Hurts, like I said, it's a team-friendly deal. He hasn't been playing well. He's been injured, but he's one of those guys where he's always going to give the right answer. You can't really be mad at him, but he needs to play better. Like, he's got to do more. This is what a franchise QB does. He can play well, but when was the last time you saw him? Like, we know he can throw the ball, we know he can run the ball, but can he do either well, or is he just good at both? You know, so that's what really gets me worried, man. I don't think
I guess we'll find out.
He can't create. The team offensively can't create. If you stop them, you stop them, and that's it. They can't do anything else, and that's on the coordinator. It's not a personnel issue. We have the talent. The offensive line is amazing. The defensive front is amazing. Some people used to say defensively, we were right there with the 49ers, just underneath them. It could go either way. What has changed? We've lost Hargreaves. That's it. Gardner Johnson. That's it.
Yeah, but you're telling me an even better talent in your rookie.
Exactly. Yeah.
DT.
Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter. Yeah. So
yeah.
I'm literally there. Like,
he has a bright future. I'm sure next year he's gonna take it up a notch. I mean, so here's my second question, and this is in comparison to Kyle Shanahan, right? So Kyle Shanahan has lost coordinators who've become head coaches in the NFL, right? Mm-hmm. But he's been able to find replacements or quality coordinators to replace them. Mm-hmm. Lose Robert Saleh, replace him with DeMeco Ryans. Lose DeMeco Ryans, replace him with somebody else who's done a great job for their defense this year. On the offensive side of the ball, they lose their coordinator, and he's able to replace them. You know, so the question is, do you trust Sirianni to fix it this offseason? Find the coordinators
he's got to potentially
replace Gannon and Steichen.
He's got to look outside of his coaching tree. He's got to look outside of, I mean, it's kind of like the Andy Reid tree to really sort of look at it like that, but he's got to look outside of that, because I don't think the Andy Reid tree is good on the bottom end. You know what I mean? The Shanahan tree, that one tends to get good regardless. Like, there's always guys coming through, but I think the Andy Reid tree, it's top heavy. You've got your guys right at the top who are good, but as you go down, it's not gonna. You've got to potentially look at someone from outside of that tree. Don't let your ego take control. You know, it's tough because I think all the good OCs are set to be head coaches in the next couple of years. There's a lot of NFL teams that are going to move on from their guy. You know, so
I mean, you got to take a look at their quarterback's coach, because I mean, this year we've got Drew Peterson from the Cleveland Browns to be our OC. I know Jonathan Gannon wanted him, and I think he built relationships when they worked together at Minnesota Vikings. So that's a very good point you say, in terms of like, he might have to look around the league to see where his previous relationships and stops are. And I think one of the underrated aspects of being a head coach that we don't talk about often is having as a section of coordinators to replace your coordinators when you lose your coordinator to become when your coordinator becomes a head coach. I think that's a very underrated aspect of head coach, because the successful ones are able to replace or promote from within. As in like in their staff, it's not just the offensive coordinator. They know if he was to go to become a head coach, I trust my QB coach to step up, or I trust my tight ends coach to step up to being the OC. It's almost like you groom down the line type of
Yep.
situation.
Yep. I think Strickland, obviously, I think this is what happens when you move coaching staffs too fast. You know, I think when obviously what's his name? Doug Peterson obviously left. He had no business being fired, but then it forced Sirianni to come up early. And usually these coaches have time. Like Andy Reid had time to groom Bieniemy. Years. We're talking like half a decade plus and longer. You know, Brian Johnson, how long do you think he had? He probably went from an assistant, positional. This is back-to-back years. Positional,
Yeah,
and to then OC straight.
like he's
You know what I
for
mean?
someone that will definitely probably get a head coaching job this coming season.
Yeah. He got accelerated
I
through,
think
you know? And I think sometimes you need time to sit and stew and really work on your craft, to sit as the OC for a good 2-3 seasons, you know, where you're holding it. Sit as the running backs coach for 2-3 seasons, then move on. But he's sort of been accelerated through it and hasn't been able to absorb a lot of the things Andy Reid would like to preach, and Doug Peterson, same with Sirianni. So I think they could become those guys, but not yet. They still needed time. And I think it was a bit premature to sort of put them in that spot. And our Eagles are paying the price for it now. You know, I think Sirianni will take play calling duties on offense heading forward, because I don't think he wants to put that on anyone else, because you're in the playoffs.
yeah, but if you remember last year or the year before, he had the duties, and when he gave to Shane Steichen, that's when your offense took off.
Exactly. So I don't know.
Do you think he's going to take it back? Because at the moment, it doesn't seem like Ben Johnson's done a great job since taking over.
Yeah, Bright, he might take it back. I don't think he can give it to anyone else on the team, because that would be like, I mean, if Ben Johnson's not good enough, who are you going to give it to? The wide receiver coach to call plays? That's like a bit, there's politics there. But I mean, if you know Ben Johnson's going to be gone, you probably had that discussion now. So you're letting him know, hey, look, you're going to be the guy the remainder of this season. I'm calling plays, and at the end of the season, we're most likely going to move on. Then you could probably do something like that, because whoever you use inside the organization knows it's not long term. You're gonna then, he's almost like filling in, and then he's back to normal duties, and then we bring in someone else from the outside. So I think that's what's gonna happen. I would be surprised if he asked someone in the organization to call plays, and then he can sort of like oversee. But at the end of the season, he's going back to normal, and then we're sort of bringing in someone in from the outside. But yeah, no, I mean, Howie Roseman's going to make the call end of the day anyways. Howie's team. So Howie's going to say, this isn't good enough. I've built this defense. It's 100% good enough. You know, we're top 5 caliber in terms of raw talent, but we're playing like literally 29th, no 30th, 29th, 30th in the league. Like, what's going on? Down the stretch, you've gone from a top 5 defense to bottom 5. Like, something's not quite right there, you know? So I think that's definitely going to change up. And Howie, after his investment, he's there like, it ain't me, man. I've built a Ferrari here. This is on the drivers, you know? And so...
Yeah, but Jimmy go find drivers to drive it.
Yep, exactly. So we need to find an OC, and it's tough. The best ones are usually going to be head coaches. We might be able to poach a guy, because don't get me wrong, who doesn't want to coach our defense? Think about it. You've got Rex Ryan might want to do it. He's like, you crazy? You give me that defensive front? Like, it's an easy level up. You know, sometimes, like I said, you end up with coaches that can ride a defense because they're like, we've got good players already. We just need a few more pieces and we're good. So it's a good way for other defensive coordinators who want to be head coaches. They might want to come on board and be like, hey, listen, I can ride this out with the talent we've got on defense for 2 seasons, and then I can perhaps become a head coach somewhere. So that's what it is. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
To wrap up, last for the last 5 minutes, Pro Bowl snubs. which player should have made a Pro Bowl. I know the fan
See
voting
this.
kind of sometimes messed up the process. Um, I think one that comes to mind that they talk about is Anton Winfield Jr. for the Buccaneers, who had outstanding numbers this year.
Mhm.
I think this year he has 12 pass breakups, 3 interceptions, 5 forced fumbles, 5 sacks, and 117 total tackles. And Buda Baker don't have a forced fumble, doesn't have a sack, don't have INTs, and he made it over Anton Winfield Jr. But sometimes when it comes to Pro Bowl, it's also about years that you've played hard in the league, because we've seen so many players get Pro Bowl nominations and their numbers are not up to date. I really feel for Anton Winfield Jr. He deserves to have been a Pro Bowler. Hopefully, some of the NFC safeties will make the Super Bowl and bow out so that he can take his rightful place as a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, I'll probably say Brandon Ayuk. Like, he's performed really well, and
Yeah.
he's become their deep weapon, pure edge weapon for them. He's kind of like completed that offense, and I actually think his development this year is what's led to them sort of being as explosive as they were. Usually they would grind you out in a game, but Brandon Ayuk, like I said, 1,300 yards plus, 101 targets, 72 receptions, 7 TDs. So he's nearly he's gonna get to 10. So he's definitely he's become that receiver for them. He's become wide receiver 1. Before it was like him and Debo, they were almost balancing it out. But now Ayuk is separated and he is wide receiver 1 for that team, which frees up Debo and makes their offense a lot better. So I think Brandon Ayuk definitely should have been there. I think another noticeable one, Breece Hall. He's played good. I think him not getting the snaps early, coming off injury, he kind of went below the radar. But he's definitely deserving. He's definitely going to be a Pro Bowl running back in the future. That's for sure. But I'm pretty sure he wanted to go in early this year because, the earlier you get the Pro Bowl, the more you can ask for when it comes to getting paid. And this is basically, instead of being a 2-time Pro Bowler, he's just gonna be a 1-time, and then he's asking for his money, so he's probably pissed off. Especially running backs, they get pissed off if they play well and they don't sort of get in.
Yeah, absolutely. There was people talking about Josh Allen being a Pro Bowl snub this season because the one with Tua, Lamar, and Patrick Mahomes.
Not really.
You can't go wrong with those 3.
Yeah.
It's just tough. Only 3 quarterbacks normally get in, so it's just tough.
We're holding quarterbacks
Josh...
to a higher standard because
yeah,
that's what I'm
saying.
saying.
And he didn't play well early part of the season.
It's as simple as that. If he of course he's upset, but in the end of the day, look at the guys ahead of you, man. Just look at their numbers, look at how they played. Like, it's right there. Like, you can say what you want, you played well, but we're comparing QBs to QBs. We're not comparing you to like a defensive end or receiver anymore, Mr. QB. We're comparing you to your peers. So some people say it's a snub, but I think it's right where he needs to be. If he wants to be there, he needs to do something about it.
This is definitely a snub. So on the NFC side of the wide receivers, 4 wide receivers normally get in. It was CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Mike Evans, Puka Nacua. All our starting receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't get in. And I know Amon-Ra has been a key Lions wide receiver. I think if Dilly was here, Dilly would be going crazy.
Yeah.
The Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't make the Pro Bowl, but like we said, Brandon Ayuk didn't make it. Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't make it. But when you look on the NFC side of the receiving tree, it's stacked. Like, you can't tell me that CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Mike Evans, and Puka Nacua didn't deserve it. They've had outstanding seasons this year. CeeDee Lamb leads the NFC receiving yards. He just broke Mike Evans' single-season record for receiving yards for Cowboys history. Puka Nacua has been a sensation. He's going to break the rookie wide receiving yards record, actually. And AJ Brown has been sensational for your Eagles.
Yep.
On the AFC side, Tyreek, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Jamar Chase. I'm happy with those 3. Tyreek, Amari, and Jamar Chase have balled out. I'm not really sure about Keenan Allen getting in though. But like I said, when you have a good record, when you have a good reputation, and you've been a Pro Bowler for the last couple of seasons, you normally sneak in.
Did Njoku get in? Tight end Njoku?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, no, I think he
I would have
deserved it.
driven straight to the NFL offices and lead a demonstration.
Yeah.
Because since Joe Flacco came in, he has been sensational.
I think he wants Joe Flacco to stay. I was gonna say Ndoku has not delivered his entire career, but this year he's really, man. A lot of people are saying this is the next great tight end, but he's kind of like a bit older than normal because usually they. In fact, this is how old is he? Njoku.
And Joker's only 27. He's still young.
Oh. So he's literally.
He came into the league very young. He came in at like 20 or something.
So he's literally hit that arc now. So he has the potential to be
Yeah,
the next
he's
big
not
one,
getting
the
into
next
his
big
prime.
tight end.
Yeah,
he's
he could be the
nowhere
next-
near. He's a good 3
I mean,
years away from his prime.
This has been his best season ever. He's got career highs in receptions, 81, 882 receptions, 6 touchdowns, which is his career high for a season. So he's having an outstanding here. And now the question is, are the Browns gonna keep rolling with Joe Flacco, or when Deshaun Watson comes back next season, he'll be the starting quarterback?
I think
Because the thing is, Joe Flacco came into the team, and the level, the play of the receivers and everybody has elevated. Amari Cooper talking about how Joe Flacco has been a blessing and literally elevated his numbers this year. You know, I mean, when you look at
Njoku
Amari
is
Cooper,
definitely like he
I
won't
think he
say
wasn't
anything.
projected to get the numbers that he's got.
Yep.
But Joe Flacco certainly boosted his numbers. There was one game where he had like over 200 yards or something, 265 yards. So it'll be very interesting to see if they still with Deshaun when Flacco comes back.
All I'm
And
saying
Flacco loves
is
his tight end.
Njoku's not gonna say anything, but I think what you're seeing now is the type of QB they kind of need. Which gives the Browns like a blueprint. You want someone with the same moxie, with the same sort of, I'm not necessarily saying physical ability, skill set, but you want someone who's that style of quarterback, because you're now seeing, hey, we've got all these weapons and they're eating now. If we had this guy at the start of the season, we might be there, So it's going to be interesting to see if they're a championship team and they want to win, then they'll go with Joe. Because that's what the best teams do. It's the best position to win. Forget money. Forget what you put into it. You want to win this championship. You want to put your team in the best position. Of course, Deshaun's not going to be happy, but he's had a fair amount of time to do something about it. This is his second year, and he hasn't really returned to form, So it's going to be interesting to see going forward. But yeah, no, definitely. Exciting.
So that's it for the final week.
Yep.
Exciting times ahead. Let's see how this weekend goes.
Yep.
And then next week we're back to break down teams in the playoffs.
Yep.
With our early Super Bowl predictions.
Early Super Bowl. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. It's been a really good show, some interesting topics, and we'll be seeing you next week. I think we should have the full squad back next week as well. So yeah, it's over and out from me and Pete as well. Yeah, over and out.
Over and out.